If you are feeling stuck and you're struggling to push past your comfort zone, then today's episode is going to be the one for you. You might be experiencing something known as resistance, and in today's episode of the Be Affirmation Podcast, we are going to cover what that is. We're going to talk about what resistance is, how it manifests into your life, what you can do to overcome that resistance so that you can essentially close that gap between where you are and where you're feeling stuck to like where you actually want to be. So this is so exciting. I really want to talk about this. This is so relevant right now for me, especially because I am going through some resistance as well. And I thought, what a better, there isn't a better topic to talk about than this right now, because I would love to share with you guys kind of how I have pinpointed the resistance that I'm experiencing and what my action steps are going to be so that I can kind of come across the other side and be in a position that I'd like to be. And so if you're someone who's like, what is resistance? Like, why should I care? It's because at one point in time, you've probably experienced it. And if you haven't, you're going to. We all experience this, but there's going to be a point in time where you have resistance and that you're going to need to be able to push through that so that you can also get to the other side of where you'd like to be. Maybe it's your dream job. Maybe it's belief in yourself that you can even manifest that dream job. Maybe it's a relationship, like whatever you have in your heart, whatever things that you're wanting to happen in your life can't happen when you have resistance. Resistance is the main thing that gets in the way of us achieving these things that we want to have. So definitely stick around. This is one that I'm so excited to talk about. And yeah, guys, let's get into it. So really quick, before I share an example and what I'm currently going through, I want to talk about what resistance actually is. So resistance is anything that keeps you from actually achieving the thing that you want or manifesting the thing that you want or obtaining, right, the thing that you want. And it can look like so many different things. Maybe it's, maybe you say that you want to leave your job, but then you are slacking on, updating your resume, you're slacking on applying for jobs, you're not putting yourself out there, you haven't updated your LinkedIn profile, you're just not putting yourself out there. Right? That's so contradicting, because if you deep down have that desire to have a career change, to move, jobs, even let's say to move states, but you're not taking the actionable steps that need to be done in order for you to have that thing, that is an example of resistance. There's something within that maybe you haven't addressed. Maybe you know exactly what it is, but there's something within you that is preventing you from doing the thing that you need to do in order to create that outcome that you want, that desired outcome, which obviously in this example would be, the better career, the higher paying job, the apartment in the new state, like anything that you want, but that you're slacking on actually actively pursuing or doing, is going to be that form of resistance. And I have been someone who's experienced the same thing, you guys. Like, I used to be a teacher and I taught for 2.5 years, but you guys, before I even became like a certified teacher, I was a student teacher. So basically I taught at a school as part of my internship. It was unpaid. And I knew in that internship, before I even became a hired teacher, that was not for me. That job was not going to be for me. It felt so out of alignment in my body. And so I went and I pursued my master's degree, and I picked something that I felt I would enjoy more. I'm a researcher. I'm a data analyst. Like, I picked something that I'm interested in. I love data. I love like being able to look at like studies and like make connections and stuff. So that's that, right? Like, I picked something I knew I would enjoy. But in the process, I was a teacher because my master's degree was going to take me anywhere between 2 and 3 years to complete. And I needed a job at the time. So I went into education. I told myself, you know what? You got your bachelor's degree here. Like, you might as well thug it out. Like, be the teacher. You got your degree. Do it while you're getting your master's and then go from there. So I got my master's within 2 years, and in that last year of me being in my master's, like pursuing my degree, I was like, get me out of this job. Like, even though my initial plan was to like be a teacher until I graduated, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm so stressed. I'm unhappy. Like, my mental health was horrible. Like, I was not doing okay. So I spent that entire year telling myself, I need a better job. Like, I hate this job. Like, it sucks. Like, nothing's going to work out for me. Like, I was being kind of negative about it. And I would even tell myself, like, I have to, I'm so busy. Like, I'm a teacher during the day, then I'm a student in the evening. I don't even have time to apply for jobs, even though I really want to change careers. I was not applying, y'all. Even though I said in my heart that I wanted to leave, it didn't take me until like the very, like, I want to say, how do I like describe this? Like, there was a point where I finally started applying for jobs, and it was within that moment, 2 months later, that I got a new job. And that could be a story for another day, because I actually, once I started getting serious about applying for jobs, I actually put in my notice for my teaching job. So before I even had anything lined up, I was like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care. I will figure it out. And this is such a beautiful example of resistance, because up until I actually started A, actively looking for jobs, and B, put in my notice, I had major resistance, because in my mind, I was like, even though I want to be in a different career, even though I want to be in another job, I was making all these excuses as to why I couldn't obtain that. I'm too busy right now. My schedule isn't going to allow for me to apply for jobs. I'm going to probably have to get my master's before I can even like switch careers. Like, there was so much resistance when all I needed to do really was just apply for the job. Was literally just put myself out there and apply for jobs. And some people might feel really reluctant and afraid to leave a job without having something lined up. I 100% can relate to that. That is what mainly kept me in my teaching job for as long as it did, because I was always told, like, don't leave your job unless you have something lined up. And I do think that comes from a good place. I think it can also be hindering sometimes, because it does kind of put you in a box. And it's okay if you feel like you need the income. Obviously, we all do. Like, life is expensive. But if it's putting you in a box and it's hurting you more than it's helping you, I think it's worth questioning. Because for me, even though it was paying the bills, my mental health to me is more important than my income at the end of the day. And my mental health was deteriorating. So I told myself, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to leave this job. I'm giving them my notice. I'm going to keep applying for jobs. I'm going to apply every single day. And then while that happens, while I wait for a job, I will drive for Uber or Amazon. I don't care. I will figure it out. But the fact that I can like put my mental health at first, this is the most important thing to me. And as soon as I put in my 1 month's notice, and I don't want to like make any, I don't want to say anything that's going to give someone some sort of like, oh, because it happened to Lidette, it'll happen to me. But I'm going to own my truth, and I'm going to tell y'all, as soon as I put my 1 month's notice, I had 3 job interviews that week lined up back to back. And I got the one that I'm working at now is the one that I got. And for me, that was just such a beautiful example of like, damn, look how long your resistance, your fear of just doing the thing you need to do, look at how much it held you back. Do not let your fear hold you guys back, y'all. That is an example of resistance. Whatever your resistance, and it manifests in so many ways. For me, it was a lack of just applying. It was a lack of just doing what I needed to do to get from point A to point B. In order for me to get another job, I have to apply to other jobs. So what are things in your life that you want to have happen, that you deep down you know you want it, it means something to you, you value it, it's something you totally can see yourself having, it would make your life even better, even though your life is already fantastic, right? We're not wanting to attract things because we're desperate or miserable. No, we're not miserable, but it's okay for us to want things, right? But what is it that you want that hasn't happened yet as a result of your own doing or lack of? That's a way to think about it. So that's just an example that I have experienced in the past. This was 3 years ago. I want to talk more about why resistance shows up and also how it manifests into your life. Y'all might hear some raining in the background. I'm recording this episode in my car. For those of you who are listening on the podcasting platforms, if you're watching on YouTube, you can probably see the rain. But resistance shows up because it's kind of like, it's like our ego getting in the way of what we really desire, but it stems from like a subconscious belief that we can't have the thing that we want anyway. So our ego almost wants to put us and keep us in the box that we're already in by making us slack. It's that part of you that feels like you're never going to be good enough. Truly, that's where it is. It's like there's a part of you, right, that, you have the desire in your heart. That's your higher self. It knows what you deserve. It knows what you came here to do. It knows your purpose. And then there's that part of you that's like, no, it's not going to happen. It could never. And that part of us, although it's very negative and it feels draining, and it's a part of us that most of us probably don't like, it really helps to have an appreciation for that part. because it's that part of us, it's that part of our ego that wants to keep us in the box that we're in, not because our ego hates us, not because our ego wants to see us miserable, but because our ego wants us to be safe. That part of you, it's like the little kid in you, right? That little part of you that was hurt or maybe at one point didn't feel good enough, it wants you to stay safe, because maybe where you're at right now, it's predictable, it's controllable, you know the outcome, like you can kind of expect what your day-to-day looks like. There's a lot of power, although I feel like it's fake power, but there's a lot of power in feeling like you can predict, you know, your outcome and your reality, versus when you actually pursue what it is that you have deep in your heart. There's so much uncertainty. You're literally putting yourself out there, fear of the unknown. Now you're potentially being in a position where maybe you can get judged by other people. Like, it's so uncomfortable to actually pursue the things that we want, because we don't know if it'll really happen. But that shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter how long something takes. It shouldn't matter if we get it, when we get it. What matters is it's in my heart. I know that this would bring value to me. It feels in alignment with who I am. I'm going to pursue it and just say, fuck it. Like, whatever happens, happens. And that's the mentality to be in that will help you push through that resistance. Because when you can sit there and be like, okay, worst case scenario is that maybe I don't get the job, or worst case scenario, maybe it takes 10 years instead of 5 years. Then it's like, whatever. Like, all right, if that's the worst case scenario, fuck it. I personally would rather like go as far as I can in my life and be able to say, you know what, at least I tried, than be in my final moments being like, damn, I can't believe I let this fear stop me from pursuing what I wanted. So this manifests because of that fear. We want to like, the average person is going to want to stay in their bubble, whether they want to admit it or not, because it's safe, it's comfortable, and it's predictable. And the way that resistance will manifest in these examples, I know I shared it kind of with the job example with like a lack of procrastination. That's just one way. It can also show up through self-doubt. And I kind of mentioned this briefly, but it's going to be like, you know, maybe things like, what if I fail? What if it never happens? What if, you know, I don't make it out there? What if those what ifs? And we all have been there. I know honestly, if you're listening on YouTube, comment down below. Please comment down below and let me know if you have been here where you're like, what if I fail? What if I don't achieve the thing that I want to achieve? And if you're listening on the podcast, message me on Instagram, tag me in a post. Like, I want to know, like, who can relate to this? Like, how often have you told yourself you couldn't do something before you even tried? Like, before you even tried to put yourself out there? Like, I know I have been there. I'm certain that I probably will be there again at one point in time. Like, we all experience this, but it's about having the awareness of when you're limiting yourself and then what you choose to do after. Like, are you going to continue to choose because you're choosing to say these things to yourself, these limiting beliefs, or are you going to choose different? Are you going to push past that fear, and are you going to choose to move through that resistance? But yeah, that's another way that it can come up, is telling yourself like, what if I fail? Because then it's like in your mind, right? You're thinking, what if I fail? Maybe I shouldn't. That's probably the follow-up thought. Maybe I shouldn't pursue this then, because like, if I fail, what's the point? I'm going to put all this time and energy into something that doesn't work. I'd rather just suck it up, you know, suck up what I'm currently dealing with right now. That will keep you from pushing through resistance, those what ifs. So next time you find yourself saying, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? I want you to be mindful of it and acknowledge where it comes from, because it comes from somewhere, but then redirect it and ask yourself, what if I succeed? What if this allows me to like live my most wildest dreams? What if I make it? What if this reaches people? What if I get this new job? What if I get to move out of state? What if I meet my partner in another country? Turn your negative what if into the opposite and into a positive what if. And you're going to feel that shift. Like, even me, sorry guys, I get so excited, but even me talking about it right now, like, I can feel that positive energy come out of me when I say, what if it all works out? What if it all works out? What if by me posting this video, what if by me, you know, moving out of state, what if I attract everything I'm supposed to attract from that action alone to take me from where I am here to the next level? Like, any decision you make can be massive, even if it's the simplest thing. Like, you guys, change the negative beliefs, like, change it into positive. What if I get to where I want to go by me just pursuing and persevering through this limitation and through this resistance? Another way that resistance can manifest is through perfectionism. I'm sure we've all been here as well, right? Where it's like, the best example I can think of is like maybe you're working on a project for work and you're just slacking on submitting it because, you really want your boss to be proud of you and you want to make sure it looks like you put in a lot of effort and that it looks complete and that it looks polished. But then, wanting it to be perfect, it sets you up for being upset, right? And never being satisfied because there's always going to be something that is missing. And the best example I actually can give, because now it's coming up, is when I first wanted to start my YouTube channel, when I first wanted to start my podcast, when I first wanted to start my business, y'all. I have a business and I sell affirmation jewelry. And since I'm talking about it, I might as well show you guys. I don't know how well you can see it, but I have affirmation jewelry. This one says, I am worthy. If you're listening, you can just imagine I have like a gold pendant necklace and it has the engravement, I am worthy. When I first started this business, I was like, ooh, I wanted to have like a full on business plan, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I wanted to have the full business plan. I was like, okay, I need to have like 1,000 followers on Instagram. I need to have this be perfect. I need to have, gold, pink and silver necklaces. I need to have bracelets. I need to have a bunch of different options before I can start telling people that I have a business. And you want to know something? I thought that I'd be able to do that all within 2 months. Guess what? I didn't. It took me like a year because I wanted it to be so perfect. And then I got to a point where I was like, Ledette, it's never going to be perfect. And I would tell myself, like, why would you invest all this time and energy trying to get all of this, inventory, having a full business plan with like how many followers and stuff you need to have, all this stuff when it's like, you know what? That's not how life works. Life doesn't work out perfectly. It doesn't work out the way you completely envision it to. And when I try to be that perfect, I am no longer in a position where I'm collaborating with the universe and co-creating with the universe. I'm telling the universe, I got it. Matter of fact, I don't want your help, even though you are all knowing. I'm a very big in spirituality also. This is just my perspective. If you believe in God or whatever religion you believe in, I genuinely believe this is a similar concept. If you got it all on your own, then you're not giving space for God or a higher power, whoever, to work with you and to co-create with you. And when you do that, it just makes things so much harder and it takes forever for things to actually manifest into your life. Like it just simply won't. And for me, it just kept me back because I just felt like I couldn't actually tell people I have a business. I felt like I couldn't actually promote it because it wasn't ready. But it's like, when are things ever going to actually be ready? You just got to go for it. And so perfectionism, oh my God. I would say if there's one thing to boot, perfectionism. Don't put that stress on yourself. You don't have to be perfect. And whatever plan or goal that you have in your life might not even happen the way that you'd like. It might happen in a better way. It might happen in an easier way. I don't know. But when you are so glued to your plan and your perfectionism, that is a manifestation of resistance because you want to be in control. You want to be in charge of the way things happen in your life. And sometimes it's just simply not like that. You have to let go of your control. And one more example that I want to give for how resistance might be manifesting into your life is through your self-talk. So I kind of mentioned this, but I want to expand a little bit more. If you tell yourself, I can't do this, I'm not cut for it, I'm not good enough, even though I really want this to happen, it's just not for me, babe, it's never going to happen. And y'all already know, okay, Be Affirmation Podcast, be the thing that you tell yourself. If you're telling yourself, I'm never going to be able to do this, it's never going to work out for me, like, what's the point of even me dreaming? My goodness, I feel for you because you are speaking your reality into existence. And if there's something that you want deep down in your heart, go for it. Why on earth would you tell yourself that it can't happen? That's a protection mechanism. That's a defense mechanism because there is a hurt part of you. There's a small part of you or a big part of you within that maybe at one point you were told that would never happen for you because you're not smart enough. You're not good enough. No one's going to take you serious. And that's the part of you that you're going to have to look into the mirror. You're going to have to find that version of you that at one point was either told that or you told that to yourself. And you were going to have to forgive that part of you for accepting that that was your reality because it never was. That was never your reality. And the things that people have ever said to you was only a reflection of how they felt about themselves. It is time to let that go, that feeling that you're not good enough, because you are. So now that we have got that important conversation out of the way, let's talk about what you guys can do, what I'm going to do, because I still haven't shared the resistance that I'm personally going through right now. But we're going to talk about what we can do to address and overcome the resistance that we experience. So the first thing is to acknowledge it. So right now for me, I am, obviously if you're listening, like I have my podcast. I'm also posting videos on YouTube, and it has been a slow growth. That's okay though. And I also have my business, which has also been a slow growth. I have had this thought in the past of like, maybe I should reach out to people. Like, why don't I collaborate with other, people who are in a similar space? People who have, I don't know, 5,000 subscribers or listeners, 10,000, whatever. People who are ahead of me in terms of, how far along they've gotten with their journey. I'm at like 130 subscribers on YouTube, and then my podcast is getting anywhere between like 5 to 8 listens per week. So, and my Instagram, whatever, right? I'm less than like 1,000 followers. So it's like, I am not exactly where I want to be. It's not just about the followers and the subscribers, but the reach. I'm talking about like my reach, right? And so I have had this thought in the back of my mind for a while of like, why don't you reach out to other people and ask to collaborate? And then every single time I think about that, the follow-up thought is like, no. Like, that seems desperate. That seems desperate. Like, asking someone else to help you grow your channel, that seems desperate. And then I'll stop, and then that'll be like the end of the thought, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, like maybe I shouldn't. Like, I don't want someone to think I'm trying to use them to gain followers. I don't want someone to think like, oh, well, she can't even pay me, like, because that's not in my budget. I don't have it in my budget to pay someone. I'd rather do a collab, or maybe like share some merchandise with someone who I feel is in alignment with like my niche, and maybe do like a swap, But I'll tell myself like, no one's going to want to do that, girl. Like, if you can't even pay them, no one's going to take you serious. So then I just don't even pursue, the action that would be in alignment with me essentially wanting to grow my reach in that way, which would be to message them. So what if they don't want to collab, right? But I haven't even let myself get to that point until recently. Because literally, like in the last couple of days, I've been like, girl, what is this resistance with reaching out? Because for me, the way that I've been wanting to grow my channels is by me posting like 2 times a week. It's been through like networking at events that I've gone to and meeting new people. And it's like, those are great ways to expand your reach, but why am I not utilizing all the types of resources that I have? Like, if I want to grow my channel, I should be, obviously posting, obviously networking, but also putting myself out there and asking for these collaborations. I shouldn't have to just wait for someone to reach out to me, because then I am just sitting there and waiting around. Why not me put myself out there and ask for the collaborations, right? And I was like, where was that resistance coming from? And something that I find so funny is oftentimes I feel like the answer, or at least a part of the answer or a part of the solution to what we experience, is in the resistance. What if I start reaching out? What if I make it into, my weekly goal of every week I'm going to reach out to one person? Or let's start small. Because I've never reached out to anyone. Maybe my goal now, and you know what? I'm going to commit to this because it feels in alignment with my body and my heart as I'm thinking about this right now. But I can commit to twice a month finding a brand or influencer or someone who is in alignment with what I feel that I am doing as far as self-improvement, positive self-talk, wellness, and ask them about a collaboration. That would be the next step to me getting through this resistance, to getting through this fear of asking, this limiting belief I'm telling myself of, the negative self-talk that I'm telling myself of, girl, they're going to think you're desperate if you ask for help or for a shout out. I'm not asking for necessarily a shout out. I'm asking for, hey, I would like to collab. I feel like I have something that is of value to others. I see that you have something of value to others. Maybe we can do something together to create a ripple effect and do what we want to do to serve the mission that we're here serving, which is in one way or another, helping others. That is a more empowering and positive way to look at this, right? And so that was just what was coming up for me the past couple of days of like, girl, this resistance has kept you in a bubble if you think about it. And, that's the main example that I wanted to give. But in addition to that, like even with like my YouTube channel, I have been very resistant to spending more time editing videos. I had seen several YouTubers talk about how when you're first starting, focus on quantity over quality. And in my mind, I was like, but I don't want to just do one video every 2 weeks or, one a week. That feels like slow growth. Because in my mind, I'm like, I want to do 2 videos, 3 videos a week. But then I'm getting burnt out. And recently I've been playing with that idea again of like maybe my resistance to slowing down is because in my mind I think that I have to do more because that will yield more results, when that's just not true. So whatever, resistance can look like so many things here, and I really wanted to share these examples because it might even be in a way you never would have even pictured. Like it might be something that you as you do your reflection and inner work, you might be like, damn, is this my resistance? Because this is crazy. Like you might not even realize what it is. And that's why it's so important to have self-awareness and to ask yourself these questions of like, where am I being resistant? Where am I getting in my own way? Where am I self-sabotaging? And that's the perfect place to start, is just ask yourself, where am I self-sabotaging? Okay. Where am I reluctant to persevering through some obstacles that I have in my life? Where am I afraid to take the next step? Like acknowledge what the fear is. And then I would say the next thing is to just break it down into like manageable pieces. So with me in my example, right, my resistance is actually reaching out to influencers and essentially asking for a collaboration. So instead of me just straight up reaching out and, doing my whole twice a month thing, maybe my first logical step is, okay, I'm going to write a script. I'm just going to write a little like template, see how it feels of like, hey, my name is, this is what I do. This is the niche that I'm in. I've seen your videos and I really love, and then obviously include something that they posted, and then like, I'm looking to maybe pursue some sort of collaboration. I don't know, right? Like I'm kind of making up the language right now, but maybe that's my first step. So I invite you to do the same. Like think about maybe one or two things in your life where you're having major resistance, and then break it down into small pieces. So what's one tiny little thing that you can do to help you take a foot forward into navigating that resistance and kind of getting through it? That way we're not just being stagnant, we're not just being stuck, we're not allowing ourselves to just be sitting and kind of, whatever, settling for less. Like we're actively, pushing past these obstacles, and now we're building momentum. So what are the small things that you can start doing? You can definitely do positive affirmations. We're actually going to do some journaling in today's episode. I'm going to have a couple journal prompts that I want to share with you guys, and we're also going to end the episode with some affirmations too. So actively doing these type of things, whether it's once a day or like once or twice a week, is going to help you start reframing your mindset to be able to then have, a growth mindset and essentially have the confidence to tackle resistance, to tackle uncomfortability, to tackle the obstacles that you're experiencing. But challenge those negative thoughts and limiting beliefs when you have an awareness of them happening in your mind. So maybe, you're like, okay, here's my first goal. And then you might experience a limiting belief that's like, but are you really going to do this? You always say that you have goals but you never do them. That would be a perfect opportunity to say, you know what? I can achieve the things I set my mind to. I follow through with myself. I show up with myself. I know how to keep promises to myself. It's these little things that start to overall compound and like help you actually change partly your identity, but like become a person that really can persevere through these challenges. You also really want to visualize success, you guys. Like close your eyes and just picture like, how does it feel to navigate? How does it feel to push past that resistance? How does it feel to be on the other side? Like, what do you think your life is going to be like? What do you think your life is going to look like? How are you going to carry yourself when you're on the other side of that resistance you've been experiencing? Is it more confidence? Are you going to be happier? Are you going to be in your dream home? What is your dream career looking like now that you actually applied for jobs? You passed your interview, you crushed it, and now you got that job. Like, start visualizing, what does it feel like to actually be who you know you are on the inside and to have the outcomes that you want to happen in your life. And then the last thing that I really want to say here is just take action. Even if you're afraid, even if you're scared, even if you're still kind of holding on to the whole what ifs, what if it doesn't happen, take action anyway. Just do it. What's the worst that can honestly happen? What is the worst fear that you have? What is the scariest thing that you have? I'll be honest with you guys, I can definitely tell you, for me, with me reaching out to people and asking for some sort of collaboration, my biggest fear is them saying, like, them laughing at me. You know, maybe not directly in the DMs like a crying emoji, but like my biggest fear is them looking at me, a small account who has only 130 subscribers and, you know, like 6 regular listeners on her podcast, and laughing, thinking, who is she to think I would collaborate with her? She's a small channel. And that, in my mind, is a form of like kind of embarrassment, shame and guilt for even asking, shame and guilt for even thinking of the possibility that someone would want to work with me. But that's my worst fear. And when I can finally say it out loud, when I finally said it, well, I didn't even say it out loud. I thought about it in my mind as I was reflecting. This is the first time I'm vocalizing it out loud. But it's like, when I say that, I'm like, you know what? Why on earth would I give someone that power to determine my value, right? Because the biggest fear is them looking at me like, girl, that's embarrassing. That's not embarrassing. They can think it's embarrassing, but I don't think that's embarrassing at all. Me going after my dreams, that is inspiring. Me pursuing what I want to happen in my life, that is me being in my power. Whether the outcome I want to happen happens or not, me going after what is in my heart is admirable. And that makes me feel like, you know what? That to me is more powerful than the outcome even manifesting in my life, is me knowing that I don't give a damn. If there's something in my heart, I'm going to pursue it regardless. And so, but you see how this is so empowering? Because it's like, once you can face the thing that you're so afraid of, it's like, wait a minute, it's not even that fucking bad. So go for it, you guys. Go for it. Despite the fear, like, it's okay to acknowledge it because you're human. You have these emotions. It is scary, but do not let that be the thing that keeps you where you're at for the rest of your life. And if you want some accountability, comment down below and let me know, what are you going to do? What is your next active step for you to push through your resistance? If you're listening on the podcast, you can also text the channel somewhere. I'm kind of playing around with this still, but you should be able to like text the podcast. I'm new at this with the texting part. Sorry, guys. Or message me on Instagram. You can message me at the beaffirmationpodcast or lit@berhanu_. I have everything linked in the description. Let me know. Be accountable. And I would love to be your accountability partner. And for my own accountability, I am going to follow up on this with the next episode. And I'm going to let y'all, or actually maybe not the next episode, because I'm saying I'm doing 2 a month. And I do a weekly episode. So if not the next episode, the following one, by then I should have reached out to someone mentioning some sort of collaboration, and I will let you guys know how that goes. I would love for you to keep yourself accountable and let me know what are you gonna do. All right, y'all, I feel like it's getting dark in my car. I am recording this in my car. Y'all already know the story, but I do have a couple of new listeners on like my platforms, and I moved back home, and I do live with like 8 people, including 3 kids, and sometimes it's just not ideal to record in my home. It can be pretty noisy, so sometimes I'll record in my car. And yeah, today I probably could have recorded a little bit earlier, so if you're listening on YouTube, I apologize. It's a little dark, but let's move on. Okay, I put a light on, but we'll see how that works. So the journal prompts, as promised, I did actually write these down for y'all. Number 1 is to ask yourself, where are you reluctant? By the way, I will have all of the journal prompts and the affirmations in the description, so you can like copy paste them onto, I don't know, like a Word doc or something, or screenshot them if you'd like. The next one I have for you is, what fears do you have? So when it comes to, you know, the vision that you have, what you want to manifest into your life, the goals and the aspirations that you have, what within that scares you? Like, what about that scares you? Or what about taking that next step scares you? And reflect on that. The next one I have is, what did I write here? The next one I have is, what are some possibilities that can manifest into your life as a result of you pursuing and pushing through this resistance? I think this is an exciting question, and it can maybe hopefully build some motivation for you to think about like, okay, well, what might happen if I take the next step and then the one after, and I keep taking steps and I push through my resistance? What might happen? And counteractive, is that a word? The opposite to that is what might happen if you don't take those steps. And it's kind of like to see the two, right? What happens if I stay exactly where I am? What happens if I take one step forward? Ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen? So kind of similar to what I shared, like being laughed at, feeling like embarrassed for even putting myself out there, whatever. What is the worst thing that can happen to you in terms of, you pushing through your resistance? What are some backup plans that you can create for yourself to actually get through the resistance that you have? So for me, going back to the teaching example, when I put in my notice and when I finally got to that point where I said, I don't even care if I have a job right now, I'm going to quit and I'm going to, in the meantime, do Amazon. Like, I'm going to apply. My backup plan was Amazon. It was to do Amazon and Uber. I knew that I would still have a source of income because I need to pay bills, but that was the backup plan. It allowed for me to at least entertain the idea of like, wait, I think I can actually do this. I can quit my job. So what are some things that maybe can be a backup plan for you, or things that can be resources or aid you in your decision to take a step forward and work through your resistance? So journal on those questions, reflect on those questions. You can always ask yourself follow-up questions like why. I love that question because I feel like it helps me get to the root of whatever it is I'm thinking about. So for example, maybe you're reflecting on that question of, what is my biggest fear? And then you answer it, right? And then maybe your follow-up question is why? Like, why am I so afraid of this? Why? A good old why never hurts. It really does help you get to the core of things that you're holding on to. We are going to end with some affirmations. So you guys have the journaling prompts. You're going to have some affirmations. You can say these every single day for the next week, which is what I would actually highly encourage, just to get into that mentality of like, no, I got this. Like, I can get through this resistance. I can get through these obstacles and I will be fine. So you can do these affirmations in a quiet place. You can do them, at home. You can do them while you're driving. I actually recommend doing them though in a quiet room when no one's around, so you can like close your eyes and like really deeply connect with what you're actually saying. But sometimes that's not ideal, and if it's not, then say it in your car, say it on your drive to work, and that's completely fine and it's just as effective. So I want to play around with affirmations today, and I'm going to actually have us say each affirmation once, and then you can repeat it after me. You could repeat it as often as you'd like, but we're going to go through 20 affirmations and then we'll say them once together, and then we'll kind of wrap up today's episode. So I'm going to place my hand over my heart. You can do the same. I invite you to do the same so you can really deeply feel what you're saying, and we will begin. I am grounded and secure even in times of change. I am safe and supported even as I navigate new experiences. I am stable and strong, and I embrace transformation with confidence. I feel comfortable expressing my emotions and adapting to change. I feel the flow of creativity and growth moving through me. I feel empowered to embrace new opportunities and experiences. I honor my inner strength and trust my ability to handle change. I honor my personal power and allow myself to grow. I honor my journey and recognize the courage it takes to change. I love myself for embracing change and growing beyond my comfort zone. I love and accept myself through every phase of transformation. I love the process of change and the new possibilities it brings. I speak with clarity and confidence about my needs and desires for change. I speak positively about my ability to overcome challenges. I speak affirmations of growth and transformation into my life. I see change as an opportunity for growth and expansion. I see the lessons and benefits in every challenging situation. I see myself as capable and resilient, navigating change with ease. I understand that change is a natural part of life and growth. I understand that discomfort is a sign of progress and transformation. Alrighty, you guys. I hope that was amazing. I know that felt really good for me. Breathe in all of that positivity, all of that loving, feeling good, positive energy into your body, into your system, and just affirm that, you're capable, you're strong, you're good enough, and you're worthy enough to move through any sort of resistance you're experiencing in your life right now, and that there's a happier, better version of you on the other side of that. And that is attainable for you. It is realistic for you. You can get to the other side. I can get to the other side. We got this. So I love you guys. That is all that I have for you in this episode. If you're listening on YouTube, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you don't miss any future posts. And if you're listening on the podcasting platforms, do me a favor and please leave the podcast a review. If you've been listening and you've been getting value and you've really been enjoying this journey and, kind of tagging along with me, please leave me a review and let me know what you're thinking. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Love you guys. Bye.